Today is Friday, February 4th. We're sharing new details about that special ops mission that we now know took down the ISIS leader, and what to know about Russia reportedly planning to film a fake attack to justify a real one. Also, what to expect at the Olympics Opening Ceremonies, and why Team USA will likely be using burner phones. Plus, a not-so-great first for Meta, how much more Amazon will be charging Prime members, and a surprise of a lifetime for a school custodian. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. A high-stakes overnight raid ended with the death of the global leader of ISIS. His name is Abu Ibrahim al-Hashimi al-Qureshi, a.k.a. Haji Abdullah. U.S. Special Operations Forces carried out the raid early yesterday morning. We mentioned it as a developing story in yesterday's episode, but now we have more details. It apparently took months of military planning, including dozens of rehearsals. The U.S. got a tip months ago that the top terrorist was hiding out on the top floor of a house in northwest Syria. And it turns out he was. About 24 American commandos surrounded that home yesterday. Witnesses say the U.S. forces ordered the terror leader to surrender over loudspeakers and told all civilians to evacuate the building. But instead of letting the U.S. take him alive, the Pentagon says Abdullah blew himself up along with members of his own family. First responders reported 13 people were killed, including 6 children and 4 women. One of the other men was an ISIS lieutenant. U.S. forces were able to get 10 other people out in time. Even though it didn't go exactly as the U.S. military had hoped, the U.S. government still calls the mission a success. As President Biden put it, the operation, quote, took a major terrorist leader off the battlefield and sent a strong message to terrorists around the world. Biden says Abdullah was responsible for a major assault last month to seize a prison that was holding at least 3,000 ISIS fighters. The president also says Abdullah was the driving force behind the genocide against the Yazidi people in Iraq back in 2014, and that he oversaw the spread of terror groups around the world. The U.S. military took fingerprints and DNA to confirm Abdullah was actually dead. A Pentagon spokesperson said he does not think it will be something ISIS can get over quickly or easily. But other analysts say it might not impact the terror group all that much, since the organization always has a plan for succession. This was the largest American operation in the region since the last ISIS leader was killed in 2019. Abdullah took over after that. So far, no comment from ISIS or the Syrian government. New U.S. intelligence shows Russia was planning to use a fake video to convince people invading Ukraine was justified. And it was apparently a pretty elaborate scheme. Pentagon leaders say Russia planned to make it seem like Ukrainian forces attacked them and film it. They say it was going to show staged explosions and use corpses and actors playing grieving mourners, all to spark outrage. Now the U.S. says it hopes by making the plan public, they've spoiled it for Russia. And whether Russia does invade Ukraine or not, American officials want to make it clear that Russia has always tried to create a reason. Even before this plot, they say Russia was running a social media disinformation campaign against Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia has built up even more troops and military hardware around Ukraine's borders. Besides all the troops on Russia's borders with Ukraine, NATO says Russia now has more troops and equipment in Belarus than at any other time in the last 30 years. And that's concerning because being in Belarus puts Russian troops even closer to the Ukrainian capital of Kiev. Still, Russian officials insist they're not planning an invasion, and they say they're still open to diplomatic solutions, though so far, talks have not made any progress. To be continued. The 2022 Olympic Games formally kick off today. The opening ceremonies are happening this morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Time, though it's actually evening in Beijing. The same Chinese filmmaker who directed the opening ceremonies at the 2008 Summer Games will do it again this year, but he says it'll be simpler this time around. There will be about 3,000 performers, not 15,000 like in 2008. Still, Olympic officials say there will be plenty of spectacle and surprises. And apart from the pageantry, there will be the usual parade of athletes and lighting of the Olympic cauldron. For Team USA, women's speed skater Brittany Bowe and men's curler John Schuster will carry the American flag. If you can't watch first thing this morning, NBC is also airing the recorded version of the ceremonies in prime time starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. Then, of course, it's time for the actual games. In total, there will be 109 medal events across 15 sports. Those include usual favorites like figure skating and hockey, as well as 7 new events like mixed team ski jumping and a mixed relay and short track speed skating. The events will be on either NBC or the network's streaming service, Peacock. We should also mention these games are unusual for a lot of reasons. Not only are they happening with extremely strict COVID-19 protocols, but also the U.S. and some other countries are not sending diplomats as they usually do. It's because they oppose human rights abuses they've said are happening in China. Even though American athletes are still allowed to compete, they're being warned to keep their guards up. For example, the FBI told athletes to bring a temporary cell phone with them instead of the one they usually use. There's fear Chinese hackers could carry out all kinds of cyber attacks, from ransomware and malware to data theft and more. Also, because of the pandemic, athletes at this year's games are required to download an app to track their health in Beijing. The FBI thinks that app could be a security risk as well. The International Olympic Committee says it's safe, but Americans will likely have burner phones just in case. More news coming up, but first let's take a quick break to thank our sponsor. When I have a lot going on, I don't want to have to spend too much time picking out an outfit, shoes, and accessories. That's why I'm starting 2022 with a new pair of shoes from Rothy's. I know that Rothy's shoes are always stylish, comfortable, washable, and durable. In fact, I still wear the first pair of Rothy's shoes I bought years ago, the red merino flats. They've lasted a lot of miles already. I also love the white sneakers I bought from Rothy's, and now I'm extra excited for the newest pair on the way. It's actually Rothy's best-selling shoe, the Point in Black. I know they'll go with pretty much everything, and People magazine named it the best flat for their 2021 Style Awards. And by the way, it's not just shoes. Rothy's also has stylish and washable bags, wallets, and other accessories. Plus, I love that Rothy's repurposes millions of water bottles into their signature thread that goes into every single one of their products. Hit the new year in stride with a fresh pair of Rothy's. New customers get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/newsworthy. That's ROTHYS.com/newsworthy. rothys.com/newsworthy. As expected, a major winter storm brought freezing rain, ice, and snow from Texas to upstate New York. It prompted airlines to cancel thousands of flights, and it made road travel especially dangerous. Trees and power lines toppled. And as of this morning, hundreds of thousands of people are still without power, most of them in Tennessee. This storm brought some of the most dangerous conditions in the form of thick ice from Texas to Ohio. But it also brought possible tornadoes to the deep south. And remember, it already brought more than 3 feet of snow to one part of New Mexico and more than a foot across several Midwestern states. Now it's going to keep impacting much of the northeastern United States. Heavy snow and ice is likely from Ohio to New England today. And then this storm system should finally be out of the U.S. by the weekend. For the first time ever, Facebook is losing users, and shares in Meta took an even deeper dive because of it. The number of people using the app globally on a daily basis fell about 500,000 in the last 3 months of 2021. That still left about 1.93 billion users logging on every day, but the lack of growth added to the downfall of parent company Meta on Wall Street yesterday. Meta's stock price plunged more than 26%, shaving $230 billion off its market value. It also marks the company's biggest one-day loss in its history. The company is blaming several things like its competitor TikTok and Apple's privacy changes, which makes it harder for advertisers to track their success. And that's a big deal since ad revenue is the main way Facebook makes money. Plus Meta's own pricey investment in the so-called metaverse. Prime members, get ready to pay more. Amazon is raising the price for its Prime services for both new and current users. The yearly subscription is going up $20, so from $119 to $139. And if you pay by the month, it's going up $2, from $12.99 to $14.99. The tech giant says its prices are going up because of increased wages and transportation costs. Some experts say they knew this price hike was coming. In fact, an analyst from the research firm Global Data says this is long overdue. He says Amazon is facing much higher costs, but still investing in Prime, so it's good value for the money, and most members use it extensively. The last time Amazon raised its prices was in 2018. It went up $20 then as well. As of last year, there were more than 200 million Amazon Prime subscribers. Dozens of investors from Nike to Condoleezza Rice are putting millions of dollars into the WNBA to try and revamp the league. The WNBA raised $75 million, and that marks the largest ever capital investment for a women's sports property. In turn, the investors get equity in the league. As far as where the money will go, the WNBA commissioner says she wants to focus on what brings in revenue, like player marketing, fan engagement, and brand elevation across the globe. It looks like the league has started making moves in that direction already. The WNBA just hired the first ever chief growth officer for the league. She's setting goals to boost the league's digital products like WNBA.com and WNBA League Pass, where you can watch every game online, not just what's on primetime TV. The WNBA has struggled with financials, and there's been huge disparities in revenue, player pay, and media attention compared to the NBA. In fact, the NBA commissioner told the AP back in 2018 that the WNBA was losing $10 million a year. When asked about that this week, the WNBA's commissioner says the league has made terrific progress. That's a wrap for the International Space Station. Well, almost. NASA announced it's retiring the station in less than 10 years. When the time comes, it will plunge into the Pacific Ocean. It's a remote part of the ocean called Point Nemo. It's actually the point in the ocean that's farthest away from land, and it's become somewhat of a spaceship graveyard. As for why NASA is doing away with the station that's been in space since 1998, it wasn't built to last forever, and it's aging. But it's already spent 24 years helping scientists and researchers study Earth and space. So the agency says after destroying the station, it will just pay private companies to use their spacecraft instead of manning its own. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, a quick message from our sponsor. When it comes to looking good, Stitch Fix has you covered. Say goodbye to wasting all your time and energy on endless browsing online, and hello to fresh picks curated for your taste and your size. Whether you need date night dresses or cozy loungewear, Stitch Fix can help refresh your look. And you have options. For the least work on your part, just schedule a fix and a stylist will send you 5 pieces that fit your style, size, and price range with no subscription required. Keep what you like and then return the rest. I love this option because you can actually try things on and get that extra help from a stylist. But there's another great option if you'd rather choose items yourself, and that's called Stitch Fix Freestyle. It's an online shop built just for you, based on your preferences, so it's kind of like having your very own clothing store. It's the easy way to get items that are just right for you from brands you know and trust, like Madewell and Sanctuary. Get started today by filling out your free style quiz at stitchfix.com/newsworthy and take advantage of free shipping and free returns. That's stitchfix.com/newsworthy to try Stitch Fix. stitchfix.com/newsworthy. Now back to Feel Good Friday. A beloved school custodian got the surprise of a lifetime. Leo Magalang works at a suburban Chicago elementary school. He's also an immigrant from the Philippines. He says he brought his family over to the U.S. for a chance at a better life. Just one day after he was sworn in as a brand new U.S. citizen, teachers and students at his school surprised him with a heartwarming celebration. When he walked into work that next day, he saw all the students and teachers from his school lining the hallways, cheering and waving American flags. Magalang said he opened the doors just like any other day, and the kids were all chanting his name. He was so touched, the tears immediately started falling. He even joked that he was glad he had his mask over his face to hide just how much he was bawling. Along with that grand entrance, the students also wrote him letters saying thank you and congratulations on the big milestone. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode all about mascots, stereotypes, and rebranding in sports. Then join us again Monday for your next news roundup. For now, thanks so much for listening. Have a great weekend.